Hi everyone, welcome to Talking Mental Health with me, Joe. This is episode number 18, and today I am with Lisa. How are you, Lisa?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while actually.
How's life going for you at the moment?
Oh, it's fine at the moment. I think anyone else you've spoken to about this year said what a crazy year it's been. And how's life for you at the moment?
As can be, everything's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, considering the
Mhm.
situation, touch wood, everything's been good on our end. We've had no exposure to COVID or anything like that. I don't know anyone who has had COVID, so yeah, from my point of
Oh,
view,
wow.
this year's been different, but safe, stable, steady, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, just adapting. A lot of adapting this year to different situations. But I suppose that's the same for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. In the field I work in, there's people across society who've dealt with it, and people I've come in direct contact with who've had to deal with COVID. So it's been a different experience for everyone.
And for someone like yourself working in schools, what's it been like since going back to school in September, I suppose?
It's been a relief, personally, for me to be back, to have that routine,
Mm-hmm.
and to have a purpose again, because I went through months of not really having, it sounds very sad, not a reason to get up in the morning. Our school worked on a rotation system, so I was working one in every 4 weeks, which was wonderful when I was there, and I felt I was really helping. But then in the other three, it was just every day was quite difficult. I had to kind of find a routine that worked for me, and I think that's what it boils down to, is having a routine to kind of get yourself out of bed, really.
Yeah. So you would literally work one week every month during
Mm-hmm.
April, May, June, up to school holidays, I suppose.
Yeah, so it was all the way up to the school holidays. I did 2 weeks of NCS, but up to that it was 1 week. We worked on a skeletal staff system, so we didn't kind of cross with too many staff. So I worked with a team 4 or 5 for that week,
Right.
and we were with key worker children for that time.
Right. And what was it like for the kids? Because I've not spoke to really many teachers who've during
Ah,
this time. So
yeah.
what was the process like for the little ones?
For in terms of being in school during that time or
Yeah,
coming back
just
now.
like what did school look like for you and for them? What was the process like for them going into school each day? What did they have to do? What could they not do, etc.?
Yeah, so it was very much a case of we'd be in key stages, we'd have bubbles. Every school worked this differently, but children within a certain year group would be with children within that year group or the year below. They had to stay 2 meters apart. They had to have their very own desk and equipment. They couldn't use someone else's equipment, for example. They had a certain area of the playground that they could spend their time in. It wasn't, as we saw, I think, in the news in France, where they had a small square that they had to stand in, but they had an area, and they had to be very wary not to go into an area that someone from another bubble was in. And that was during the lockdown period. That was during that was that time.
Okay. Must have been so strange for the kids, but also for you guys as well, to just have such a different environment but be in the same building.
Oh yeah, it completely was. We had to stay within our classroom. You had to journey through the school in a different way. It wasn't kind of free and open as it usually was. Um, it was completely different, and I think that the children were so happy to be in school and have that normality of going to that building they would see 5 days a week. But it was completely different. It
Yeah.
was totally different.
And what percentage of kids did you have in school during lockdown? Did it drop as low as like 10%, or was it like 50%, or was it even higher?
But no, we had quite a low percentage, really. I couldn't say exact numbers, but yeah, we had quite a low percentage. Most parents chose to keep their children off during that time, and yeah, we had really low numbers in school.
Interesting. And then what was it like going back in September? I guess everybody came back in at some point or another, all the staff, all the kids, but there must have been
Yeah,
adjustments for those kids.
Yeah, it was. We are in like most schools across the country now. We are in a bubble, so you're in your class bubble. Everyone's come back, but the bubbles do stay completely separate. Break times are more separated, so each class is not seeing another class, and you do lose that sense of whole school community, because the kids aren't seeing kids from other year groups, but it's still wonderful to have them all back in one space together. It's nice to have to not teach from home, and it's lovely to just be in that classroom and have that relationship back with the children. It is great to have them all back.
So did you teach from home pre-summer holidays?
We didn't teach at home pre-summer holidays. But some schools I know did. I know for high schools it was different. I can only speak from sort of a primary school perspective. But yeah, so we never really did online teaching. We would send work home for children to complete. We give them tasks every day to complete, but we didn't do online teaching. Okay. But I know every school's different.
Yeah, I guess, each school is very different. I know, my dad's a teacher and he's told me what they're doing in that school and how things are different there. So I guess every school and every teacher has a different experience of their school, and every school has a different experience to the other school. So again, just adapting. What was it like from your point of view, seeing the kids come back to school in September after the majority of them have been off for 4 or 5 months, something like that? Did you notice a difference in how they were in and around school? Were they interacting differently? Were they a little more standoffish with people, or did they just carry on as children you would, as you'd expect?
I think because I work in Upper Key Stage 2, so I work in Year 6. So the children had obviously been together throughout their school journey from nursery, and I think they were glad to have that group back. I know they were doing a lot of Zoom calls, class Zoom calls with each other during that time off. The previous year group teacher did that. But from what I've seen in terms of other year groups, and not necessarily in our school, but on the news, I know a lot of children who are going back into schools in the UK who are starting from scratch, so starting at nursery level or reception, because they haven't had that interaction with others for such a long period of time, are struggling to either learn those skills or remember those skills of interacting with others, sharing, those key things that you learn when you're so little. They've forgotten, or they just don't know how to do that. So I know a lot of schools are struggling, especially for the younger ones, to just reintroduce them, to re-engage them into that concept. So
very interesting. And I know you said there you did NCS in the summer, and obviously we know each other through NCS in previous years. Did you notice a massive difference in how that program was run and how it kind of affected the teenagers on the program?
Yeah, I was really lucky for my 2 waves. So the teenagers we had on our 2 waves were really wanted to interact and engage with the program. But from previous years, we both know, having the residential side of the program, it's so key to everything, to get them to take them away out of the setting they're usually in and get them to engage with nature when we go away for the outdoor residential, and then just to be in that university setting as well, to be in halls of residence. It was so different. It's a completely different program, completely different.
And did you guys do, so you said you did 2 weeks, did you do 5 days with 2 different sets of people?
Yes, so everything was online. It was all, we actually started off based at a sports stadium for the first week. And then I think the more intense lockdown rules were announced on the Thursday night. So on the Friday, we had to sit outside the sports stadium, which was interesting, with a small group of 16, 17-year-olds. And then the following week, everything went online. So they were doing a lot of online campaigns. It was more about how we can make a change that way through social media, rather than being within the community. So yeah, totally different.
Yeah, I forgot you guys, because obviously up in Manchester the lockdowns are slightly different to where we are, and I was down in Surrey for NCS this summer, so we were outside with the young people face to face pretty much the whole summer, which was really, really nice, because we hadn't had that interaction with so many people for so long, and then all of a sudden you could go out and do some volunteering, and it was just nice. And from my point of view, the young people loved it because it just gave them a chance to be outside and talking to people again, and being part of something a little bit different than just sitting at home with mum and dad for 4 months.
Yeah, absolutely. And not being on a screen, because I know my screen time shot up, so theirs must be through the roof.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, I can only imagine. So for you and with being back at school now, how are the kids sort of coping with life at the moment? Because it is quite different now to what it was in the spring, isn't it? In the sense that they can still go to school, but then when they get home, they are a little bit more restricted on what they can do. Is being in school now more like a sociable thing rather than a learning thing? Or is it still
I
just
think,
as it was?
yeah, I think school has always been both of those things for children. It has always been that, the place of learning is the main reason you go, but it is to be sociable, and it is to have that social circle around you. And when we started back at school, we had a really intense focus on mental well-being in school, and kind of focusing on a really safe environment but a really calm environment. And even though things had changed, we also reminded the children, but a lot of things are the same. Things are different, but things are the same. You still have your friends here. You still have this supportive network of teachers and adults who care about you and want you to do well. So I think it is both the teaching environment, but like you say, it is the social aspect of it is so important.
Yeah. And what kind of stuff are you guys doing with the students to kind of keep it nice and calm and to keep their mental well-being strong?
We have a really, really great sort of mental well-being support network within the school. What we started with a program of every day they would come in. So when the children come in the morning, it's not they all arrive at once, so they're separated up into time slots, so not everyone arrives together, to keep the social distancing. So we had a different focus every couple of days. So the first few days, reconnecting and re-engaging with school life. We look at how they manage with change, and I think a lot of it was looking at emotions and feeling free to talk about emotions, because I think a lot of the time we just assume that children will get on with things and that they're quite resilient. And as resilient as they are and as incredible as children are, they need to feel that if they are feeling sad, they need to understand why and feel comfortable with that and come forward and be able to talk to someone about dealing with not only negative emotions but sharing when they feel really positive as well. So
yeah, so important. I watched I was part of a podcast club the other day, and the podcast they were talking about was a TED talk called The Power of Vulnerability, and the lady who did the talk was talking about suppressing certain emotions, and when you suppress the bad emotions, you also suppress the positive emotions. And very similar to what you're saying there, like having the kids communicate when they are struggling or feeling a bit sad, but then also being, I guess, open enough to talk about when they are happy and when things are going well. And I think that's so important, isn't it? Because if they don't talk about when things are going well and they only talk when things are going bad, then they're only going to want to talk during the negative times, and they must have so many positive things to talk about.
And there is that element of a lot of things this year have been so negative. And we don't want them to dwell on that. Although we want them to talk about it, we really do want them to embrace the good. So I think that was a massive key focus, and to have those good conversations, and to understand that they can celebrate certain things and it's okay, even if the world seems bad, they can still celebrate during that time. So
yeah, that's good. And is the Christmas buzz kind of reached school yet, or is it too early?
No, my rule was always we don't talk about Christmas till Halloween's over, and we had them at the start of Halloween already. Start of October, already getting pretty hyped for Christmas. So, but school is a great place to be around Christmas anyway, because the kids get so excited about it. So it's brilliant this time of year. I love it.
Super. No, that's really good. Yeah, I always remember like when I was in the school last year around Christmas time was just all the kids were buzzing. There's a different feel around sort of middle of November to the Christmas holiday, and it just I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It's hard to put your finger on it, but there's almost like this excitement everybody's feeling, but nobody really wants to get too excited because it's not quite there. But you can feel it around the
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
No, I remember as a kid, you know, I don't think they even do them anymore, but that moment when you brought home the Argos catalogue and you
Oh
started
yeah.
circling everything you wanted within the Argos catalogue. I know
Yeah.
the whole meaning of Christmas isn't about toys, but that was one of my highlights of the year, was getting that and getting the
Yeah.
Sharpie.
I know. I used to do that every year. Get the catalogue. I remember in our primary school they used to do this thing where they would have like a post box in the reception, and you could write a Christmas card to somebody in your class or in a different class or to a teacher, and then you put it in there, and then every day a couple of students from like the year 6 would get sent to go and get all the cards, take them around to every class. And I remember one teacher, she literally used to fling them across the room to us. It was just something so different, you know, and it was just nice if you got a card or if you saw someone get the card that you'd written for them. Like that was just such a nice feeling. And I think that's one thing that is nice about Christmas. Everybody just does feel generally a little bit better about themselves, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if we'll be having the post box this year, but I think it will be, the children will still be able to bring their cards into class, hopefully, and after a time period of 48 hours of keeping them COVID secure, we can probably hand them out. And I think it will be different this year in schools. You know, schools aren't going to be able to have nativities, and there's not going to be carol singing. I know quite a few schools go into the community and sing for them, and not knowing the specific plans for our school yet, but I imagine that will be different as well.
Yeah.
But again, things being different but things being the same, we will still be able to celebrate, but in a different way.
Yeah, and that's the hope for everybody, as long as somebody can celebrate
Yeah.
something around that time of year. So I just wanted to go back. You said like when you were teaching 1 week out of 4 during the initial lockdown, you had 3 weeks to just kind of wait until the next time you were in work. How did you pass the time? How did you keep yourself going in that window?
It was hard. It was difficult. I spent a lot of time walking, getting out when we were allowed to go out, when it wasn't just the half hour of exercise every day. Got into running quite a bit. At that point I was living near Salford Quays, so it was quite a nice open location to go where you could kind of get that fresh air, see something that wasn't your own four walls, and just, you know, I'd stick in a podcast and walk around for a while.
Nice.
Do a lot of reading, but really it was, for me, I love working and I love being in school, and not having that purpose, that was a struggle. That was hard. And for you, I imagine, how was work for you?
For me, it was very different. It was so April and May I didn't work at all. I was on furlough for 2 months, which was great in a way because I was getting paid to stay at home and do nothing. But at the same time, I've always been in the camp of I'm either really busy or I'm really bored, and I wasn't busy, so I was genuinely a bit bored. You know, but there was times where, you know, I'd read a lot. Kelly and I would go out for our hour of exercise a day. We'd walk, we'd run, we'd do something, because I know what I'm like if I sit still all day in front of the TV or in front of my phone, drive myself crazy. So it was kind of getting into a routine of making sure that I had not a solid plan for every day, but at least something to break up the day, where it was a case of, you know, get out and move a little bit, and the weather helped. It was nice weather, so we I think we started running initially because it was cooler, but then it started getting hotter, so we stopped running and just started walking, so we were out longer.
Yeah, there was a period where I think it was hitting 30 in the summer.
Yeah.
And there's no running for me. I think if I didn't run before sort of 7 a.m, it was just too hot. It was too hot to get out and do something like that. But we're still walking in it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I totally understand that it was. I think I started off with, I didn't put myself into a routine early on, and I think that was sort of a detriment, because then it made the days roll a lot slower. But then I started setting my alarm. I'd get up, even if it was just for a coffee, and I'd sit out for a coffee. So just that purpose, just that reason for getting up kept me going, and it made the days go a lot quicker.
Yeah, and I think that's very important because you said about, your purpose is to get up and go to work with the kids or with NCS and the young people, and then once you lose that kind of professional purpose, you need to find your personal purpose when you've got that time. So yeah, it sounded like, I think I was similar in the sense that, I would, all of a sudden I was like, oh great, I can sleep till whenever I want, but then it got to a point where I was like, well, why? What's the point of sleeping extra when I can actually get up and go out and have a walk, or just write a blog or whatever it may be. And I, yeah, like you, like try to find a purpose to get out of bed every day, not just get up when I felt like it and rolling out into a day. So yeah, that's super interesting. I bet a lot of people were in a similar boat as well, because the first lockdown was weird, wasn't it? Nobody knew what the heck to do with themselves, and nobody knew how long it was going to last. And then all of a sudden it was like, right, well, this could be longer than a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. And I think as well, your mood is heavily influenced by having that purpose. So on those days where I did, or the weeks where I did get up and I'd set my alarm and I'd make sure I was up, I'd feel a lot happier and I'd feel a lot brighter about and a lot more positive about things. Whereas if I didn't, I know I'd kind of spiral into that negativity and just build on it. It's like, why should I go up? Why should I do these things? So motivating myself to do it was so vital.
Yeah,
so important.
and that's good for your mental health, isn't it? Because it gives you a reason to get out of bed and feel like you're actually being purposeful and being useful rather than just lounging about all day.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you remember, I don't know why this just popped in my head, but I was thinking, do you remember on programme on NCS a couple of years ago when you took that kid to the doctors or to the hospital and you stopped at Starbucks on the way back and you spilled the drinks in your car? Do you remember that?
Oh, hold on. I only got part of that because you broke up, but I think, were you referencing the famous coffee chain drink accident
the major frappe spill in the back of the Corsa?
It was blueberry cheesecake. It was disgusting. It was so horrible. But you know what? I tweeted them and I showed them the mess, and they sent me a voucher for a free drink. Nothing about cleaning the car, but I got a free drink out of it, so that was good.
I just thought about, I don't know why, I was thinking before about, like when we did resis and stuff like that, and then just as you were talking then, my mind was kind of wandering to NCS, and that just popped into it, because that's like one of my best memories of working with you at NCS.
Not working with me directly, just when I made an absolute kerfuffle of myself.
Just when you spill the drinks in your car.
Yeah, just that, not the hard work that I put in every day.
Never.
But I miss that I've missed those residentials this year.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Everyone goes on about teachers and the holidays. It's a frequent thing that comes up in conversation. So missing out on was essentially 4 weeks of my year, 2 weeks which are fantastic, where you do go away with those young people. And that's where the difference is made in those 2 weeks, and you see them come out of themselves and be, embrace life and embrace different experiences. So it was sad for that not to be a part of it this year, but understandable and keeping everyone safe.
Yeah, and I think from a staff point of view as well, I used to love the two resis, because not only were you with all the young people, but you were with that community of staff as well. And we used to have 45 probably 25, 30 odd members of staff just working together. And that's what I take away from NCS is, working with young people is amazing, and I love seeing the journey that they go on. But I also think about the amount of people that I've met over the years in terms of staff that I still keep in touch with.
Same.
Have great memories of, and have I see every once in a while, like people like Joe Webster, and I talk to Joe a lot, CJ, people like that. Like I would never have met them if it wasn't for NCS. So those are the things that I think I missed this year more than anything, was being around a community of other staff members.
It does, and I remember my very first NCS, I had quite a negative experience because I didn't, going from a primary school setting sort of as my full-time job, and then in the summer working with these teenagers that I wasn't used to working with, I kind of had to change my mindset a little bit, and was approaching everything with a primary school head on, where you can't really do that with teenagers, I realised pretty quickly. Once I got my head around how the programme worked and kind of got myself in that space, I couldn't have got through the summers that I got through, sometimes dealing with quite difficult situations, if it wasn't for the support of the staff around you. Because if you get an amazing NCS team, it works so beautifully, and you're buzzing off one another, and then that kind of filters down to the kids.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing experience. It's such a fantastic job to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And that, yeah, for me, I think the best thing about NCS is just that sense of community, especially on a resi.
Yeah.
When you've got, I mean, we used to have 200 plus kids and 25, 30 members of staff one week, and then another 15 on top of that in the second week. And it was just such a good vibe, and everyone just, I don't know, I always feel like with our programs that we did, everyone used to get on really well. I can't remember that many disagreements and argues amongst members of staff. I know there was minor issues and stuff like that. You might have different experiences, but from my point of view, like, it was just, everybody just knew why they were there. They were there for the young people, and they were there to make sure the program was amazing for them, and to just make sure it was a good time for everyone. And I think 9 times out of 10 that happened.
Oh yeah, completely agree. You're all there for that shared common purpose, aren't you? And you do, because you are all there for that. You're all in that same mindset, in that same headspace, and so you just meet some amazing people and make some amazing friends. So yeah, I couldn't recommend it highly to more highly to anyone.
Yeah, that's one thing that always makes me laugh. You get all those staff and all the people that have done NCS, and they said they absolutely loved it. And then you go in and you try and recruit people for the program. You're like, it's amazing, you're going to have them in time. And then they're always like, but then they do it and they're like, oh, brilliant, absolutely loved it. Do you remember the group? I think you were on the resi with us, not February of this year, but the year before, when we had that beautiful week up in, was it Dearne Valley? Was it Dearne Valley? Yeah, I think it was. It was Dearne Valley. It was February. I think in my mind I was expecting.
In Doncaster.
Yeah, it was going to be cold, it was going to be wet, it was going to be miserable, but it turned out to be mild, a bit sunny, and we had a really good wave. I'm pretty sure you were on that week.
Yeah, probably, and I know that to be honest, some of that you referenced with the Frappuccino incident was probably the best NCS experience I had.
Really?
It really was. It was just a great mix of staff, great mix of young people, and we had an incredible time. And I think, like you were saying about when you're recruiting new staff and they're not sure, they kind of don't know about it. You have to experience it to love it. You don't know what it's going to be like before you do it.
Yeah.
Nothing can prepare you for it, because it's you just have to be involved.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with the young people as well. They're always umming and ahhing. I think when they're in year 11, they're buzzing for it, because they're year 11, it's a great way to finish their high school years. But then once they get into sort of lower 6th or year 12 and that October half term or February half term, they're always a bit hesitant because they're not sure, and then they get on it and they absolutely love it, because they do get to get away for a few days and they get to meet loads of people, and with members of staff like yourself and Robbie and Katie Marshall and everyone like that. Like, they can't not have a good time because you've got some amazing staff. And yeah, that's the one thing I always took away from those resis was the program was really good. Yes, the young people were amazing. Yes, but the staff, people like Byron and Dan Eckers, or all those people that I just remember through NCS. That's what that's what I carry with me when I think about NCS. Is the young people have a great time, but I just remember all those friendships that I made with people that I'd never met before.
Mm-hmm. And also bring it back to primary school is, I'm sure you remember residentials from primary school that you went on and how fantastic they were, and the friendships you built there. And I still remember my year 5 and year 6 residentials and how much fun I had doing that.
Yeah,
so I think it's going to be a different and kind of, it's almost a shame that the kids now maybe won't get to experience that. We don't know how far along it's going to be until they can do those things again.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because we ran a program in October half term, and again we they were all in different areas of Surrey, but then for the social action days and for the activity day, obviously they were all together, and it was just amazing because they couldn't really interact with each other, but just the vibe, because there's a group there and a group there and a group there and a group there. There's just more people, there's more energy, and I think that's one thing that has really been missed just in general this year, is being around people. I like being around people, and hardly been around people at all this year unless it's been with work.
Same, absolutely agree. And I know I said earlier that they're in their own bubbles within school, but when you have everyone in, so we had Children in Need on Friday, and we were all watching the annual duck race. and all the classes had the poster up in their room, and I walked through the school, walked back through again, and saw that every single class was cheering on these ducks going through this. They do it at the dinosaur mini golf place at Trafford Park. I don't know if you've ever
seen. Yeah. I've seen it.
So they set all these rubber ducks off. They chase down. They're all different characters. I think it was Quackman and Bobbin that won.
Right.
But every single class was screaming and shouting and really excited for the fact that they were just watching this duck race. And although we were all separate, there was that sense of we're all together in this. It's that community feeling within school. So yeah, I think you can still feel that it is still there.
Yeah, I mean it's nice to know that the kids can still have that when they're in school. And I think, like, for me, from a personal point of view, like Kelly and I, since we moved to Worcester last year, like, we've realised how isolated we are here, because we don't really know anyone. We know a couple of people, but we don't have that many friends here as we do in Manchester. So when we've had that free time, it's been a little bit weird because we haven't really had anybody to text or call upon. Whereas, knowing back up there, we know so many people, and we have been up a couple of times when we were allowed to and stuff, to see friends and whatnot. But yeah, I think this year I've realised how much I miss being around just people in general, whether it's, just doing something that we've planned, or whether it's just sitting and watching a game or going for a drink or a coffee or whatever it may be. I've really noticed that this year.
Oh, definitely. And it is, even if you go to the supermarket and you're keeping your 2 meters, you're wearing your mask, you've sanitized, just to see other human beings around you it does just feel a little bit more normal.
Yeah.
And I know they talk about the new normal and what that's going to be, but there's always going to be that sense of community no matter where you are, and that sense of kind of human spirit wherever you go.
Yeah.
So
that's why I'm surprised they closed the gyms this time, because that was a big thing for us. Like, once they opened again, classes were still going on. They were really small. There was limited people. There was limited numbers in the gym. But just like you said, being there and just seeing other people and having conversations across, a weight bench or something like that, just kind of made that feeling of normality. And I think at this time of year, especially now, like, it's 5 o'clock and it's pitch black outside, you can't really do much else. For me now, I'd love to go for a swim, or I'd love to go and sit on a bike and just pedal for half an hour, but can't, and I think that is a real shame. I think that's good for physical health, but mental health is massive as well, isn't it?
It is the argument. I know there was a couple of news reports where some private gym owners were refusing to close because they said this is a vital service. This is, people come to our gym not only to work out, but they come for their mental health as well. And so I am really surprised, especially if gyms are keeping everything so clean. I really, maybe classes I understand closing, but certainly going in and just being able to, put your earphones in and just switch off and do that for you for an hour every day or every other day. I know a lot of people are missing that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can completely relate to that. So what's the next couple of months looking like for you? Have you got any Christmas plans, or are you kind of waiting to see what happens after the 2nd of December?
I very much, as someone has always planned everything, I've had to take the decision now of taking every day as it comes. Not worrying too much about what's going to happen in the future, because I can't control that, and understanding that I have no control over it. I can only control what's happening right now. So I think as long as the people I love and the people I care about and everyone else in the UK is happy and healthy towards Christmas, I think that's the one thing that I care about. The one thing that everyone should focus on is just having those 2 things.
Yeah, no, completely. Yeah, I would second that 100%. And then last question is, what does Lisa do when she's a bit down, or she just needs to completely switch off from teaching? Like, what's your way to, I guess, escape?
Just being outdoors, get going somewhere that isn't my my usual routine, not driving somewhere, but just walking anywhere, especially if it's a beautiful place. So there's quite a few nice places nearby. We've got the canal, Bridgewater Canal, running all the way through near where I live. So kind of walking all the way, you can walk towards Trafford, you can walk all the way in the opposite direction towards Wigan. Rivington Pike, if it's still open and available, is a really nice place to go. Watching films as well. Big into my movies and always have been. So yeah, watching some old favourites. Probably watching Dumb and Dumber for the.
I was going to say, what's your oldest favourite? But I guess Dumb and Dumber wins.
Dumb and Dumber, just anything, the comedies. Switching off, making sure that maybe I turn off the news alerts on my phone, and watching something that's going to make me laugh. And documentaries as well. I think I watched that new David Attenborough documentary on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Which, although had the frightening message about that, you know, we're in trouble and we need to make sure that we're recycling and looking after the world. But then when you see those images of the world and how beautiful it is, it takes you away from being in the space that you're in.
Yeah, no, completely.
What about you? Top tips. What do you like to do, Joe?
I would say I like to run, but I'd be lying. I will run, but I don't like running. So, I mean, at the moment, we're making sure we get out of the house every single day. You know, the weather today was pretty garbage down here, but we made sure we got out. We got about an hour walking. We got soaked for 15 minutes, but it was just nice to have that fresh air and to be moving. Yeah, I think for me, it's just some form of exercise every day. And strangely, I find cooking quite cathartic as well. I put some music on and just cook, and you know, try and avoid looking at my phone while I'm doing it. You know, just be somewhere else and listen to music, chill out, and while I'm cooking. So yeah, I'm reading. I love reading. I've probably read more books this year than I ever have in the previous 32 years, just because I've had the time to do it, which has been lovely. You know, I think that's one thing I've really taken from this year is that making the most of that time that we've actually almost been given back. I know you can't give time, but you know, we've had that extra time to just figure out what it is that we like and how we can best, you know, look after ourselves. So yeah, I think my top three would definitely be some form of exercise, cooking, good or bad, and reading. Just those are the three. And then obviously doing this podcast as well has been something new that I've added this year, which I'm really enjoying. So, you know, because the thing about this is it's nice because I can learn from other people, but it gives us a way to stay in touch with people as well and have those conversations that, you know, you may not necessarily be having this year. So yeah, it's nice to just touch base with people, even just once a week or something, just to have a little conversation, just to check in, see how they're doing, what are they up to, what, you know, how their family, etc. So yeah, that's been nice as well.
I think it's been a really great, I'm going to call it series, to kind of watch and listen in on and hear different perspectives from sort of different, you know, different mindsets. So I know you've had other NCSs on. Yeah. We have Dave Morris was on. Yeah,
it was on. Yeah,
so
Dave's been on.
Yeah, it was great to, you know, hear how he's getting on from previous NCS years, but also just people you would never expect as well. I know you had I can't remember her name, the young lady in America. She was really interesting to speak to.
There was two, yeah. So Kate was the first one, and then Maddie as well. Two players I used to coach over there. So yeah, it was nice. So the idea was to, you know, get men to talk, but then it's hard to get men to come on and talk, you know, to get one a week. So I thought, well, why not open up the conversation? Because it's a conversation that not many people like having and not many people really want to have. But I think it's an important conversation that needs to be had, because I think more people than ever are struggling with mental health, but they don't really know where to turn, or they can't really find somebody to relate to. So I think when we can put people like yourself and Dave and Joe Webster and, you know, the girls from the station stuff, and just show that, you know, men are struggling, women are struggling, the younger generation, our generation, the older generation, you know, I've had just so many different people on, and it's nice to hear people's stories from their perspective and how they're dealing with different things and what they've dealt with in the past and what they're going through and how they dealt with it and stuff. So, you know, it's been enjoyable for myself, and it's nice to just, like you said, catch up with some other people that haven't really seen for a while.
And we're all going through, like you say, we're all going through this lockdown together. We're all going through what's happening in the world together. And even though we aren't, you know, physically together, we can still share that experience. And it is important to hear what other people are going through, because we are all going through the same thing. We are. So
yeah, and the thing is, everyone's dealing with it differently. There's no perfect way to deal with this year. You know, nobody could see the way this year has gone on the 1st of January. You know, and there was no roadmap to deal with it in the best way. But it's interesting, you know, you've got what you do to kind of keep yourself going, and people have got different things that they do. And I think, you know, I think it's nice for me as well. Like, I've tried a couple of things that people have said that they do, you know, and it's just interesting to see what works and what doesn't, because there is no right answer, is there? So it's just whatever works for everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lisa, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. And
Oh, so welcome. It's been good.
I hope
Enjoyed
you
it.
get to plan some sort of Christmas.
Christmas will still happen. Christmas
Oh,
will
in
happen.
some way, shape, or form. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Lisa. It
Absolutely.
was really good to talk to you.
You too, Joe. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.